Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hygge With It. Today I'm doing another round of KonMari with me. I'm really nervous about this shelf. I'm genuinely so nervous. It's historical fiction, British historical fiction, and let's see what happens. I'm really decluttering my bookcases and I'm going shelf by shelf. Oh my gosh, wish me luck this time, guys. Let's get into it. So the whole thing that I'm doing here is the Konmari Method, where I go through my books and I have to look at what sparks joy, whether I've read it or not, and what doesn't, and just get rid of the stuff that doesn't. Now, I have to have rules for myself or I'll just keep everything. So the rule is I have to dwindle each shelf down to about 20 books. No, exactly 20 books. Usually they can fit around 30-ish. This shelf fits 24, or I've got 24 books I'm going through. So the limbo shelf, let's dress it. I can also take 2 books from this little stack and put it on my limbo shelf. And basically I'm going to go to my limbo shelf at the end of all of this and go, okay, what do I want? What do I not need in any way? And kind of dwindle that down as well. Or I can keep extras, like if I go over, if I'm like, I really need 21 books on this shelf, I can go to my limbo shelf, take one off of there immediately, and my conscience is cleared. Anyway, let's begin. First up is The Absolutist by John Boyne. Now, I read The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne and fell madly in love. Like, this man is an amazing writer. And this is such an interesting story. It follows a man who's just gone through the Great War. He's got a stack of letters from this man that he fought beside. He had this incredible bond with. This man died. He's bringing these letters to this guy's sister. But that's not the only reason he's going. He's got stuff that he's sorting through and a lot of pain that he's sorting through on the journey. And I just need to keep this. I need to know what happens and what's in the letters and everything. So I'm keeping it. Next up is The Cat's Table by Michael Ondaatje. This sounds so interesting. It's about a little boy who I think is orphaned, and he is being sent on a ship overseas. He's on a ship bound for England, and he meets these other boys at the dining table and they bond, and it's about his story, and it just sounds so fascinating. Like, I've never heard of a story like this, so I really want to keep this. Next is The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters. I loved The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters that I read last year. Also loved Affinity by her. This is about a couple who move in with a widowed woman and her daughter. Now, there is a love story between the daughter and the married woman, and I think it escalates into a bit of a thriller mystery kind of vibe. It sounds so fascinating. I know that Lauren over at Lauren and the Books really loved this book, and I want to keep it. Now, I will say this, if I can find a better version of this, I will be buying a better version, because this is sadly a library copy and that does not make me happy. But the story itself is intriguing to me, so I'm keeping it. So far, I haven't gotten rid of anything. Oh my god, this is not going well. Okay, and it's not getting any better. The Crimson Petal and the White. I think this is Jen Campbell's, like, favorite book, or, like, maybe top 5. I can't get rid of it. This is about a prostitute in 19th century London. And apparently this woman, Sugar, is a character you will never forget. And I just need to meet her. I need to know her. So I'm keeping The Crimson Petal and the White. Yeah, I got you. I think I might have my first unhaul. 22, Britannia Road. This is about a couple who are fleeing during World War II. They have with them a little girl who was actually found hiding in the forests of Poland, and she's almost feral, but they take her and are trying to save her, essentially. Now that premise sounds interesting, but there's just something about this book that I've never been super drawn to. Oops, I'm just noticing. I'm so glad I'm getting rid of this. This is a smoker's book. Can you see it's super yellow, and then as you turn it, it's white? Ew. So every time I read something that like a smoker has read, I just get major allergies, so I'm getting rid of this. That made it so much easier. You can pry this book out of my dead hands. Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. Man, this is good. This was my favorite book that I read in 2018. It was just amazing. It's sci-fi meets historical fiction about a woman who lives her life over and over, and different things happen to her based on how far she gets along with surviving, and I freaking loved it. That will always stay. Now there's a sequel to it that I have in my hands, A God in Ruins, and this follows the brother of Ursula from Life After Life. This one doesn't do the sci-fi stuff though. However, this brother, I think his name is Teddy, he went to fight in the war. So I think we're finding out what happened to him and what his experience was like. I just really want to know. So I'm definitely keeping this. I've only gotten rid of one book. Oh, here's one that could go. It's The End of the Affair by Graham Greene. This is like a classic about an affair that ends very suddenly. And we follow someone who's heartbroken, and I think maybe I feel a bit like vengeful about it. It's just super old and tattered, like not good looking. So I'm going to get rid of The End of the Affair. Maybe I'll like get that from the library or something at some point, but I also don't really love reading about affairs. Does anyone else have that where it depends, I guess it depends. Next up is Once We Were Brothers, which sounds really interesting. This was a recommendation from one of you guys. This is World War II, or it takes place after World War II, and there's this party, and this man walks up to one of this like very wealthy philanthropist guy, and he's like, "You're a Nazi," and everyone stops, and it's really awkward. No one can prove that, but he's like, no, I know that you're a Nazi because I grew up with you and we were like brothers and you betrayed us. It just sounds so fantastic. So I'm keeping it. This one sounds very sweet. The Tilbury Ladies Choir by Jennifer Ryan. This is about women at home during World War II. It's kind of nice to get civilian stories sometimes. And this is about a little town where the women create a choir, a ladies' choir, and it's about them bonding together through good times and obviously bad because it's wartime. But it sounds lovely, so I'm keeping this. Next up is Transcription by Kate Atkinson. I really enjoyed this. This is about a woman who wants to become a spy in the war, and she is recruited, but it starts out being super boring where she's like just typing up stuff. She's also an interesting character. You don't love her the entire time. You're not sure about her character, and yet like you're getting everything from her perspective. She's our narrator, and you're just not sure how you feel about her. And I thought this was funny and so tense at times. I listened to this on audio and it was so tense in moments. I enjoyed it, so I'm keeping Kate Atkinson. Transcription. Next up is The Summer Before the War, and this really is about a little town before, I think, World War One. Yes, and you meet, I think, two people. I think that might be even like a bit of a romance. We meet Hugh Grange and Beatrice Nash, and their experience together before the war. So, okay. I'm drawn to this book. I'm not dying to pick it up. So I'm going to put this on limbo pile because I just don't know. Longbourn is up next by Joe Baker. I read this and really enjoyed it. This is about the servants at Longbourn. So if you haven't read Pride and Prejudice, it's the servants who take care of the Bennets in Pride and Prejudice. I really enjoyed this retelling. I don't usually love retellings of stories and stuff because they're precious to me, but I did enjoy it. I don't know if this is like something that really represents me. Pride and Prejudice represents me much more, my reading taste, I should say, more than this. So I think I'm just going to let it go. I enjoyed it a lot, but it was just fine. Okay, this was a case of like, I've got like all of the books in a series and haven't even started the series. World Without End by Ken Follett. This is part 2 of Pillars of the Earth, that series. I'm going to keep it because I mean, I might love Pillars of the Earth. So I should probably keep it. The next one goes back and forth from London to Shanghai. It's When We Were Orphans by Kazuo Ishiguro. Now, he wrote Never Let Me Go, which I loved. That was sci-fi. This is historical fiction about a detective whose parents disappeared in old Shanghai when he was a small boy. It's haunted him. It's now the 1930s in England, and he wants to kind of solve it. And I'm just curious, and his writing is so good that I need to keep this. I need to know. And that's coming from someone who doesn't like detective stories, but his writing is just that good. Next is the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. This was a World War II story about the island of Guernsey that was occupied by Germany. I think it was the only part of England that was occupied by Germany during World War II. And their experience there, you flash forward backwards in time. I enjoyed this. I think I enjoyed the movie more, which is not normal, right? For a reader, you're supposed to like the book more, always, always, always. But yeah, I think I'm gonna pass this along. I enjoyed it, but it's not like me in a book. Like it doesn't spark joy. So I'm gonna pass that along. Next up is The Sixth Lamentation. This is about a man who like flees to a church to claim sanctuary. He's a suspected Nazi war criminal. That's why he's there. And it follows his story as well as Agnes, who like risked her life in Paris to get kids, Jewish kids, to safety. I don't know what it is about this book that I just don't want to pick it up. I don't know why. It sounds interesting, but I just don't want to pick it up. So I'm gonna pass that along to somebody else. A Spell of Winter is up next by Helen Dunmore. This is about a brother and a sister who have all of these family secrets in their lives. And I really don't know much more about it than that. It's supposed to feel like gothic-y, but I just have no intention of reading it. And it was winner of the Orange Prize, but it just is not... Oh, wait a second. I forgot. The first line in this book is, I saw an arm fall off a man once. That deserves to stay on my limbo pile. Just that opening line alone, it's staying on my limbo pile. Okay, limbo it goes. We'll see what happens at the end. Next up is Amy Snow. This is about a young girl who is actually found as an infant in the snow. This young heiress named Aurelia takes her in and like basically insists that her parents keep her, and they become like sisters. Now Aurelia dies, but she leaves these letters to this little girl named Amy, and they take her on this adventure across England. It sounds so heartwarming and so heartbreaking at the same time. I have to keep this. Next up is Small Island by Andrea Levy. This is about a man who has just fought in World War II. He was one of the several thousand Jamaican men who like fought during the war. He comes home to England and no one is respectful of him, and he deals with a lot of racism when he comes home. He's dealing with a wife who I don't think is very happy where she is. It sounds fascinating. I do wish that I had a better copy because it's super yellowy, but I want to keep it because I've heard very good things about this, so I want to know what the hype is all about for this one. Next up is The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. This is a beautiful book. It's got like green edging and stuff, but there's just something about it that I have never been inclined to pick it up, and I still don't feel like picking it up, so I'm going to let that one go as well. Flamerkin is up next. This is about a prostitute in 1748, and she's somehow obsessed with clothes. I just don't want to read this. Like, point blank, I don't want to read it. I don't know why I bought it. I'm letting it go. Next is like 2 in a trilogy, I think, but I don't have the third. It's The Storms of War, and then the second book in that is The Edge of the Fall. This takes place during World War I, and we follow a very like prestigious family, and one of the boys goes to war. I have no idea what happens to him, and I don't know what happens to the family, and I'm just curious, so I'm gonna keep both of these. Guys, I did really good. I got rid of 7 books from my shelves, which I was so nervous at the beginning of this. 7 books are gone, and I have 2 for my limbo pile. The Summer Before the War and A Spell of Winter. This is perfect. I mean, I feel so good about this one. Shocked, really shocked. Let me know in the comments below if you were like, why did you get rid of one of those books? Like, if there was anything that I got rid of that you were like, that's my favorite book. I'm sorry. Let me know what I did wrong. I will talk with you guys soon. Okay, bye.